The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subarai Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of a Toku Talk, which we don't do very often. If you did not see the last video, we discussed what Toei shows we would adapt on the Western audiences.
I still find it so weird that you both picked Forze. I think that was like the weirdest thing to me.
We discussed why we picked Forze and why we thought it would work. You can go watch that video. But now it is Marcus's turn. He decided.
Like I expected you. I didn't expect you.
You expected me partially because I've said it before.
Yeah. Like I expected you to pick like Drive.
I almost did. Honest to God, I almost did. But when I thought about it more from a marketing standpoint and the relatability to the audience that we would be pandering to, Forze just worked on too many levels.
I guess.
Also, let's be real. Right, this is also in the idea of we're making the show right now. No one's greenlighting a cop show right now.
Yeah.
No one is.
I mean, what we're about to talk about.
So about that, I was going to bring that up.
I was going to bring it up too because, it was going to get brought up regardless.
Well, we already recorded 10 minutes of this video, but Marcus didn't turn the goddamn mic on.
It was 5.
It was 5.
Either way. So Marcus wants to talk about how he would adapt Lupat.
Yes.
Like, we're going to get to it eventually, but I'm pretty sure we all have thoughts on this.
Yes.
So let's go to where you want to start. This is your show.
Yes. I'm going to start with the villains first and then circle back around to the heroes. Because I feel like the villains were the weakest part of Lupat. I'm not going to deny that. They were. So, but I feel like they could definitely be worked up a bit more. And actually, this gives me a good chance to talk about some of the other things that this character in specific did in Lupat, but it didn't come up enough. So we're going to talk about Ghost first. The big thing, and this is a thing that we talked about before when it ends up coming to Sentai, do not let the person who's going to grow the monster get close. I feel like at that point, she should be interrupted a lot more. She's going to have to be a lot more inventive. I can just picture her doing like a really long tube. From just like across the parking lot or something that they don't see until it's too late.
She's just like slowly extending it like bit by bit by bit.
It's like some Home Alone shit.
She's just like waiting.
The
episode starts and we see her like sit down and start extending it, and then by the time they blow the monster up, it's like, and done.
She's like, nailed it. All right, we're good.
I want one. Then in that case, I want one time where she just tries to Leroy Jenkins it.
Do a drive-by growing?
Yeah.
Just see her in a car. Bitches!
Southside Power Rangers!
She's driving away like this. Nailed it.
Yeah. All right.
If that's on the next season of Hockey
Just
Rangers,
middle fingers coming out of the sunroof.
It would make so much more sense. And that's the thing I just really don't like they do a lot in Sentai. It's just don't let person do X.
I need a drive-through growing now.
That would be amazing. That's hilarious.
Growing.
Sorry, drive-by.
But she also did these experiments over the course of the show that they really didn't delve that much into until it was almost too late. So I want her to do those near the beginning. More and more, you just see it come up a little bit more often. Like, I'm not going to say every episode or even every 5 episodes, maybe every 6 or so, just to make it a little bit
enough to remind us that it's there.
Yeah, that she's always doing something. I feel like that would end up giving Ghost a bit more to do. I would not change Destra.
If I could tag onto that for a bit, when you're talking about like bringing it up every couple of episodes, do it in a way that feels substantial and not in a way that she's peeking her head out of the corner of the screen and going, "Hey, I'm here too."
Yeah, yeah. Make it so she's always observing.
Right.
I feel like that would end up giving her something. I would not give Destra more to do. He really doesn't need as much. I'm going to actually talk about Zamigo last. But I do want to talk about Don Granio because dude's tired. He wants to retire. And that's basically his whole thing. So I really want him always to be also observing, with Ghost. Seeing like, all right, how can we make this better? But in his case, it's saying, all right, is this person worthy of taking my title? And I feel like that would end up making him a lot more interesting so he can get more and more aggravated and like occasionally help out the person just so he can get to his retirement faster. But the Lupins and the Pats end up, I guess, outskilling him.
And he can't retire if he's the one who beats him.
Yeah. Now, when it ends up coming to Zamigo, one, dude, you need to be there. I understand that his actor wasn't always available, but I feel like his character, at least the suit, needs to be more present. Give him a bit more something to actually do in terms of the story, not just get rid of the Lupin's loved ones at the beginning, but maybe because of the fact that in the movie, there was the other Patronigo that was supposed to become him before he got replaced because he was killed. And I really want Zamigo to be the one to have killed him to give the Pats more of a reason besides just doing their duty. Mm-hmm. That would end up making him at least to be a lot more fleshed out of a character on both ends. All right, let's talk about the Lupins. I would not change much about them except some parts of the backstory to give the Pats a little bit more reason to go after them explicitly. Okay. Have them steal, because the Pats end up getting all of the guns and all the changes at the beginning of the show. Right. We'll set it up like that. They end up stealing 3 of them near the very beginning. That would end up setting at least much more of an actual rivalry up instead of just you stole this thing and having it be so not defined, which is a problem I had in the main show.
Well, and because it's like you stole this thing, but in essence, the Pato Rangers are doing it because it's their job. Yeah. There isn't really any kind of there is no personal reason as to why they're going after the Lupin Rangers aside from they're cops. It's what they have to do. It's their job. But especially in a show like this, I think giving them that tether, that personal connection, especially when they're their teams are essentially 2 teams of superpowered individuals, going at each other. Yeah. I agree with you, is what I'm trying to say.
it would make things a bit cleaner as well to get them strong. Right off the bat, you stole from the police. Great. Heist movie. We're good to go. And, Zunigo was the one who killed who took away their loved ones, but he actually killed Satoru at the beginning. It would be great. And it would also end up leaving an episode for later on where you see one of the monsters wear his skin. Like they do in the show when they have their human disguises. They wear those people's skin.
Like Edgar in Men in Black.
Yeah. Water.
With sugar and water.
I love it here a little bit more because that could be like Zamigo didn't really have a perfected technique, so he had to actually kill the person initially instead of just freezing them as he did later on. Makes it so much better. For the Pato Rangers, it makes Keiichiro and Tsukasa's counterparts, I guess in this case, a bit stronger and have Sakia. It would give Sakia more of a story because I sort of want to get rid of that romance aspect throughout the show and have him just have much more of a feeling of, am I good enough to replace this person that was killed in the line of duty? Because he wasn't supposed to have the powers, somebody else was. It would make things a bit more interesting.
It would. But I think it's time we discuss the hot topic of adapting a show like this. I know, but now that we're on the Pato Rangers.
No, I'm still not.
Okay.
Let the men finish.
Yeah. The characterization wouldn't change that much. I love the fact that Tsukasa is still the strong one. And just things of that nature. The story, as it goes along, Lupin and Patronax still want to be the same person, still want to be a double agent, and still want him to be blatantly obvious in the fact that I'm helping both of these people. Have fun with that. Because I love that about him. It ruins a trope immediately. And then I want the revelation that these are the people that... The cafe's still there. Caffeine Works as, the base for the Lupins.
Yeah.
Having their own thing.
Persona 5.
Yeah, I still want the cafe to be like the main thing, and that's how they interact with each other, because they always end up going to the cafe where the Lupins are. The one thing they did not do, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that gender swap episode, but I want a body swap episode. And that's the way that they end up finding out that that's the Lupins. Maybe we'll say this is a 49 episode show. Make it happen at episode 39 to give something to round out the 30s with. And then for like the rest of the show, it's just really them being on the run.
I can see that.
Yeah. It would ramp up the tension for those last 10 or so episodes of just, this is what's going to happen. And it would also give us, just a general Sentai trope of, this episode has to happen at some point or another. Because it didn't do that like that, for obvious reasons. But it would make it so it's not just a throwaway runoff episode.
Yeah.
It would give it more weight.
It reminded me of an episode, I think it was Justice League Unlimited, where Lex Luthor
and the Flash swap bodies. I was thinking the same thing.
And he goes, I can find out who the Flash is.
Secret identity. Okay,
I have no idea who this is.
That season was terrible, but that's a great moment.
That was a great moment. No idea who this is.
Shit. That can't all be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. For Noel's counterpart itself, we're getting rid of that other dimension people. That was stupid. I sort of understand why they did it, but at the same time, no. It was just a bad idea.
I just love his logic. No.
it was just a bad idea because it came up so late. I mean, you could still have it, and I'd be fine with them actually still doing it if these people were introduced earlier. Maybe you saw them, maybe they were the servants at the castle that Dogradio and the others stay at. That would be a lot more interesting. So you could do something like that. Yeah. I'm all right with the Good Striker still being the way that it is. I do want them to have Jackpot Striker as a thing in show, not just movie exclusive, and then showing up as one episode. Mm-hmm. They tend to do that quite a bit. They did in Abba Ranger, where the mech from the movie ended up being used for the big bad guy plot at the end because it was at the bottom of the ocean, and they piloted it for some reason. But Good Striker is something good enough by itself. But having Jackpot as a secondary mech would be useful. I honestly don't want this show to have as many mech fights simply because the mechs are bad.
I mean, you can't argue with that one.
Yeah, the mechs are really bad.
They are, though.
This is one of those ones that just like, it should be a lot more on the ground fighting than anything else. And
maybe the mechs will fight without combining more often than they do.
Because we don't use them as much.
I'm just saying, but if like a studio fort, like with me and Jacob, we came up with hypotheticals because studio interference is always a thing.
It's not always a bad thing.
I'm not saying, I just said it's always a thing.
Fair enough.
If they force you to promote these toys, maybe do less of them combining and utilizing them individually.
It would actually,
because they're the worst looking when they're combined.
Yeah, but I feel like using them by themselves would be one very interesting to see. So it doesn't have to be just jump straight into the mech fight.
No, that's my point. But
like they did in episode 2 when they had to chase them across the city. That was cool. That was really cool. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, the ending, I would still end up leaving that the same. Where all the safes and everything still work the way that they do. And the fact that the Lupins are the only ones who have access to it. It's still a good idea in practice. But there are some things that I would change. Give at least one to the Packer Rangers that can actually open it as well, so the Lupins don't always have to be there. Give Patrick Ichigo the upgrade. That should be his. Instead of just giving it to Lupin X the entire time. So everybody gets one. Like, I understand, I don't really care about toys that much, but I'd much rather... and I love the fact that the packs end up using their skills as an actual way to beat the monster than just...
Getting a power.
Yeah.
Getting a power up.
Use Toy X here. I'd much rather it just be a little bit more even so each team would have to rely on their skills and their power-ups equally.
That's fair.
Yeah. Although, in Lupat, when the way that they ended up finishing it was with him using the finisher and the other two backing him up, I thought that was great. But I would like, for the general premise of them having to get the Lupat collection back, be the actual reason for why they're doing what they're doing, along with getting their loved ones back.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, and that would be also them getting an emotional end for both teams when they inevitably end up coming together to beat Sumiko and then the Dawn later on. But yeah, that's how I would end up adapting this show. Thoughts?
I like it. I like what you got so far.
I like what you got so far, but being the realistic thing, how are you going to pitch a cop show in this current climate?
Not just a cop show, but a cops and robbers show where they want you to sympathize with both teams.
I mean, you can do that. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be that the Lupas are the bad guy. Yes, they might be doing some bad things, but I want them to be a little bit more like they were always good people at their core in the actual show.
But you also got to remember, it's not just about sympathizing with the criminals. It's also that people are looking at cops as criminals now, too.
Yeah.
So you've got to, kind of address that.
And this,
I don't think you do.
Yeah, I feel like the real world politics.
No, because to say like you have to address this, then you're putting your agenda before your story and your characters.
I understand that, but if your story doesn't get told because people won't watch a cop show, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine had to.
I'm going to stop you there.
What?
Because this is a superhero show.
I understand that.
So
you think
you can take that out of everything that you're saying because they're superheroes first, and then everything else after it.
You think that. I think that. Not everybody who's going to watch a show and every parent who's going to let their kids watch that show is going to think that.
That's their problem, not mine. But that's their problem, not mine. I pitched the show the way that I did because I thought it would just work like this.
And again, I'm not fighting that.
We're just talking about inside. We're talking about the show. We're not talking about outside influences here.
We talked about outside influence with ours. That's why I'm giving it to you.
For y'all did that. I don't have to.
Then your show's not going to get greenlit.
Well, it's not like our show was going to get greenlit.
It's hypothetical.
I know.
We're all dealing with hypotheticals here, but
I'm just saying play along like he did. That's all I'm
love
asking.
that weight line.
I was just asking you to play along like he did. That's all I was asking.
I mean, y'all can do that. However, I'm not. You should know better by now. You don't.
I'll ask you then. What would you do?
In regards to what?
In regards to trying to pitch a cop show in this current climate.
Well, in this current climate, as I said in our Black Lives Matter video, I am always, by the way, hashtag Black Lives Matter, I'm always trying to find the middle ground. I'm always trying to find ways that compromise could potentially happen. Yeah, not everyone's going to be happy in the end, but that's life.
Right. That's what I was trying to ask him. What was his compromise? But he doesn't compromise ever.
And we wouldn't have him any other way.
Well,
hypothetical compromise.
What was it?
Is one thing. I'm asking for a hypothetical compromise.
It was one of my favorite quotes from this season of The Umbrella. I'm just going to say the quote because it is honestly hilarious. You may not believe it, but not everyone here likes you. Sounds ridiculous, but go on.
Getting back to what I was saying. In this current climate, yeah, you would, because when people are talking about how they want to get the show Paw Patrol, an animated show for children, canceled because there is a puppy cop in it, that is portrayed as being good, and like that is if that is the level that people don't want to see police characters portrayed in their media. This is something that we just have to wait a few years to pitch this sort of thing.
Yeah, plus this wouldn't be coming out next year. This wouldn't come out this year. Real Soldier's coming out next year.
Again, well, first of all, I said Power Rangers and you said no. So I wasn't going on
but in a hypothetical situation, I would wait.
That's fair.
In a hypothetical situation, I would wait, even though one of the things about art that I really hate is people telling other people what stories they can and can't tell. That's something that I loathe with every fiber of my being, and it drives me absolutely ballistic. I also recognize that our country is in a very fragile, volatile state when it comes to stories like this. So concessions, I think, would need to be made.
Especially, like, the example I was trying to bring up, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is currently writing their newest season. They have thrown it in the garbage and are starting from scratch so that they can, acknowledge and make sure that what they write and what they show does not trigger, for lack of a better term, anybody. Because that's...
But you're going
to trigger somebody regardless.
But you're also making it seem like I'm doing this right now. and there's no way that it would be done.
Again, but we're talking hypothetically. So, because hypothetically, I gave him a scenario of studio interference. I was giving you a hypothetical. Let's say 3 years from now, this is still a problem. Because let's also remember, Black Lives Matter was also a big thing in, 2013, 2014, and here we are.
And it still hasn't stopped, and I love that.
Yeah. So my point is, it may take more than a few years. So you can either sit on this story until people get their act together, and by people, I mean bad cops, or...
Everyone.
Or, like, my hypothetical scenario, my hypothetical compromise to you would be a 1 or 2 parter filler story where the Patch Rangers have to deal with bad cops. And that would have been my compromise option to you. Would you have said yes to that?
I mean, obviously I would have done something like that initially.
We also have to
That is what I was looking for. Oh my God.
We also have to remember we're coming at this from, there's 2 different sides of a coin that we have to play with here. On one side, we have, how our country feels about the portrayal of police in the media. But also, we want, we're trying to pitch a show that has parents sympathize, where the children, they want us to sympathize with criminals, essentially. And getting back to, what I said earlier, it's Persona 5. We've
been doing that forever.
We have been doing that forever, but...
Robin Hood.
Persona 5, Robin Hood, Lupan the Third.
I know, I'm just saying... It's always going to be a problem, and it's always going to be something that somebody's going to get concerned about. But
there's always going to be a Karen.
Ignore him. Yeah. That's basically how I treat him. So.
No, and I get that, and I wish it were that simple for everybody. But
I do love trolling a Karen. It does make my afternoon. Not my whole day. I have other things to do.
But, like I said, I just wanted you to discuss the compromise you were willing to go. Where were your lines? Before you say, fuck you, I'll go somewhere else, or fuck you, I'd rather this should not be made. That is all I was asking from you. But once again, you dug your heels in. You were Marcus, and God, I fucking hate you. Why am I still here?
Because we enjoy it.
I have so many other things I could be doing on my Saturday mornings.
Other things to do today. But yeah, let us know what you think about this in the comments below. I personally love where I went with that. It let me
your show is great.
It let me expand my creative juices.
Yes.
No, and I would love to do these more. Like, if we, spin a wheel and we have to, it lands on a show, we have to...
that'd be great. Because there are so many ways, like that wheel that they have in the Roulette's play that never lands on Battlefront 2.
Yep. Two more. Moving on.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Which, by the way, the new one's great.
I'm so excited.
But let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you want us to continue doing stuff like this, also let us know. And then if you want to, since we did discuss a kind of a hot topic, if you have something negative to say, you know where the door is. Bye, everybody. Follow some other things.
Bye.
Bye.